glad that you changed the focus to what excites you, not so much what worries you. Andy, you had really asked the question about advice for publishing students. I keep looking at that clock that's slow, but I'm cognizant of everybody else this time, but I just wanted to ask one more question before we go on to the Q&As. And Andy, you sort of really started it, which is advice for publishing students and even publishing professionals. But one of our students, I thought, put the question really, really well, sort of a slightly different twist on it. But at this point in time, who would you rather be, the publishing novice or the publishing to a fault stalwart? How can the new school and old school of industry work together? So I thought that would be a really good way to sort of end this question before we go into Q&A. So I don't know who wants to take that.
Well, I think, Emma and I work together just day and, not night, but day, long days. And in some ways we are, not that she's a novice at all at her grand old age, but she's 2 or 3 years into her career and I'm 32. And I think we each bring something that's very valuable. I bring perspective, experience. I've had failures. I think I have a pretty good sense of our audience. And Emma brings this great understanding of new technology in the new world. And I think we work just incredibly well together to bring the best out of both of us. And so I'm not sure it's an either-or thing. At 32 years into my career, I really don't have any choice but to be the guy with the experience. So I'm not going to say I'd rather be the novice.
Ani?
Well, I'm 6 years into publishing, so I don't know if that makes me, which one of those that would make me personally, but.
Stalwart.
I think some of the best, so I completely agree with you. I mean, I think some of the best ideas in the STM field over the last 5 or 10 years, definitely the idea that everybody said would fail was Public Library of Science, PLOS. Their open access model, they just said we will do technical editing, we'll put a journal out there, a scientific journal, it'll be completely open access, we'll charge the authors up front. I think it was initially close to $4,000. So you create the content, you pay $4,000 to get it published in a journal, in a new journal that nobody actually knows about. And everybody in the industry said it wouldn't work, but they had the peer review model, which is the traditional, I would say the stalwart model, and they used the power of the internet. No print. We'll provide you alt metrics. We'll give you all sorts of metrics for that. You have, in terms of licensing, you can use it wherever you want to. You don't have to link to our website, put it up on your website, put it in an institutional repository if you want to. Do whatever you want with it. It's yours. You just pay us the $4,000 up front. And everybody said, well, it's not going to work. Last year, I think they published 20,000 articles. So that was a big success story, I think, in this industry. And you can do the math. At $4,000 an article for 20,000 articles, that is completely funding the Public Library of Science, and they're hiring. So I know a few of my friends have joined that organization. So that's been a big mix of people who were willing to take the challenge. So they were the novices, but they used a model that the scientists were willing to, that they were familiar with. So it was a good mix of both. So.
Yeah, I think you want to be a stalwart, and it doesn't matter about your age, and if you understand human nature, and you want to be the novice if you're 80 or 90 or you're on your deathbed, trying to just be passionate and learn and be excited about the new stuff. So I don't think it's necessarily an age demographic, although it can be. But I would, for all of you, if you don't know who Lou Adler is, he's a blogger online. He does great stuff for people looking for jobs and the best interview questions you should read. Are you a producer? Are you a thinker? He's got a lot of good insight, and I read that because I'm thinking about, who when I can hire again, who I'm going to be looking for. So I think you want to be passionate. Ultimately, if you're passionate about whatever it is you're doing, you're going to succeed. And that's not a stalwart point of view or age consideration. So I'd rather be a novice probably.
to have fun with it, I'd say novice, because it gets back to my belief in 91% of companies fail in any industry. That's just data driven. So the incumbents are going to be marginalized, disrupted, and so I'd rather be BuzzFeed and Mashable than the Atlantic, honestly. And if you look at, I don't know if you guys have seen Upworthy.com, the fastest growing site in the history of the web, 0 to 30 million in like a year, and not even writing their own content. I think it's all syndicated or whatever. It's just aggregated. But these guys are total novices, right? But they've created a model to get faster eyeballs than certainly us, 102, and I think we're a pretty good success story. But that's just an amazing accomplishment, faster than Facebook. And they didn't know what they were doing. I mean, they knew what they were doing. They didn't know what they were doing in terms of publishing. And now they're creating a revenue model around it, and that's exciting. And I think they just don't come with the sort of legacy thinking that all the incumbents have. And you're freed from that. You just trying to figure out how to. If you're the right kind of person, you're an entrepreneurial, smart person. You're just going to figure out how to get it done. And you're going to do it without many resources, and you're going to be scrappy, and so that to me is in some ways a lot easier today than managing. Like the New York Times, what are they going to do? They've got the best newspaper in the world, but they've got serious challenges with their business model, serious challenges. And they're doing great stuff digitally, by the way. I actually don't think that they're not. They just have real problems, and they own printing presses and everything else. It's tough.
I think Emma had a, sorry.
Yeah, I did. To go back to the CLOS, and you mentioned that you think it's a great success. Clearly it's doing well in the industry, but isn't part of a publisher's job to help narrow down the content so you provide value or say, or just saying, we feel that this is an important thing for our readers to be looking at, and then is there a way that, especially in STM, that, I mean, this is just turning into a fancy publishing. I know a lot of academics publish or perish, so if they can just publish anything, that's going to be better for them instead of focusing on the next big thing they're working on, confirmatory studies, and just so they can publish something and feel like something that
Yeah, there's.
be better. It's like a vicious cycle.
It's a good question, and there's actually one of my editors. It's a common term for that. It's called the minimal publishing unit. People are trying to publish as many of the minimal publishing units as they can. Fortunately or unfortunately, one metric that everyone looks at now as a measure of how well the journal is that they're publishing is the impact factor. So that's one thing that so it's a metric that each scientific journal has. That so the higher impact factor, obviously, and administrators at institutions actually look at the impact factor of the journals that are being published in. So it's not completely that I put it up on my blog, which will happen someday. I mean, that will happen sooner or later, and but it just hasn't happened yet. The peer review and the journal brand of the New England Journal of Medicine, the Cell, the Science, the Nature is still pretty strong. That a publication there is probably worth, still I would say worth 5 or 7 in PLOS. So.
I'm sorry, can I build on I have very particular beliefs about the impact factor, and I know it's very limited. It gives you a very limited view of what people are actually doing with your content. Do you have any strong feelings about the impact factor, and do you have any ideas of how you can help STM publishers break away from that and use other alt methods when actually assessing the importance or impact of the journal?
That's a great question. I actually, I'm somewhat ambivalent about the impact factor. I mean, as with any number that's of that nature, that's something that can be gained. You can sort of, and everybody knows the rules. I mean, all publishers in STM publishing know you publish certain things, you publish more reviews, more editorial content. But we live in the world we live in, so that's the other part of me that says that It's not going to go away because it's an easy number to calculate. It's universally accepted now. But I think as publishers, what we can offer is more of the alt metrics, is how many times was your own articles downloaded? How many other people have been looking at it? Things that even now that I can pull up for myself from Google Scholar. I mean, I don't need to go to any, there's no software that I need to do that. So I think instead of going to Google Scholar, if publishers were able to provide that information, that would definitely be useful. So yeah.
So making that like publicly available, like the impact factor and so.
And we have started that actually. So this is where I get on my soapbox. But we have actually started that with ACS ChemWorks, where with a new product that we've launched, that the papers that you've published with the American Chemical Society, you can actually know how many times they've been downloaded and accessed, and the sort of geographic breakup as well. So.
How do the authors respond to that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, sort of interesting being over here now.
Okay.
Okay.
Tell us all about the impact factor.
I was just wondering, now that you're providing authors with that kind of information about how many downloads your articles are doing, have you gotten any kind of feedback on people? I feel like, at least in my field, if an author sees that, oh, my article was only downloaded, 10 times, they get really upset and be like, why aren't you making it better for us? Like, have you got any backlash as a publisher?
Not yet. I think up until this stage, what we've been doing is we were carefully sharing the very positive news. We were sharing the top 10 downloaded articles, and you're on our top 10 list for this month. And so we were not sharing the universal information. But I think we don't create the content. The author creates the content. So I think in a sense the author would feel bad that my article hasn't been downloaded that many times, but then that's not really much that we can do about it. You can tweet about it. We can try to get the word out through press packs, which we often do. But there's not really
And
much.
tell them how many articles are published by the American Chemical Society publication.
We publish 40,000 articles a year, 44 journals. Yeah, so this is quite a large number.